27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And there isn't one of us that doesn't want to be someplace else. This is what we do. Who we are.
Survive a war, you gotta become war.
Today, space is essential not only to our way of life, it's absolutely critical to the modern way of war. GPS, ATMs, cell phones, gas pumps, traffic lights, power grids, guided missiles, surveillance, RPAs, ground combat control. There's no such thing as a day without space operations. You just don't see them. Earth is only half the battle. Cyber attacks and jamming of our satellites. Microsatellites that can create a debris field. At 17,000 miles an hour, a piece of metal the size of a coin can be weaponized. Now is the time for a military branch with a clear and singular focus on space. A military branch that protects the hopes and dreams of America and our way of life as the space domain becomes more and more contested. It's time for another giant leap. The United States Space Force is being built from the brightest minds across the space operations of the Air Force, our joint services, and the private sector. We aren't just getting ready for the near future, we're getting ready for the 22nd century. When our enemies ask, what if? We will have an answer. When foreign powers can build bases on the dark side of the moon, when private companies are inventing a new economy beyond our planet, we need to stay one step ahead of the future. And the future is where we'll make history. We will fight in an environment with no up or down, no left or right, where there are no borders and nowhere to hide. Our Space Force is defending our country, here on Earth and wherever our mission takes us. As commerce and exploration expand, we will imagine the unimaginable, anticipate the inconceivable, and prepare for the impossible. We won't just think outside the box. We'll think outside the atmosphere. In one of the most challenging environments ever known.
Boom, and welcome to Rambo and Friends. I am your host, Joe Rambo. You guys and myself are in for quite a treat today. Listen, I have had some communications with this gentleman leading up to this show, and I will tell you that super humble, intimidatingly intelligent. You guys are in for quite a treat. If you've seen General Stephen Kwast before, you know what you're in for. And if you haven't, hold on to your seats because I am, to be honest, I ran upstairs and I told Kim, you get put in these amazing situations doing shows like this where you get to talk to people that you look up to so much. And you know that they're just another human that are part of this war, just like you and I are, right? The drops have told us that nobody is above another. but it's hard to not be excited when you get to talk to somebody that you look up to as much as I do, General Kwast. So with that being said, let's hear from the boss and we'll get this thing started.
I wouldn't miss a chance to talk to my friends. These are my friends.
Boom, General Kwast. Sorry, I always have to hear from Donald Trump before I start the show, and it fits so well with the Rambo and Friends thing. So that's my deal. But how you doing, sir? Thank you very much for coming on.
Well, doing well, and thank you for having me on. It's an honor.
Yes, yeah. This is more than an honor to me. Look, I've been looking forward to this for months now. We've been trying to link up, so super grateful. It's been on my calendar with a big red circle on it. I couldn't wait to do this thing. Would you like to, just for the people that might not have seen you speak before or heard your deal with Space Force, just give a background and let everybody know kind of who you are and where you come from?
Yeah, so I appreciate that opportunity. I'll keep it short, but we all are a product of our past, and things that happen in our lives build us to the moment that is now, and allow us to contribute in interesting ways. So my upbringing was as a kid in an African tribe. My parents were missionaries. My father was a cultural anthropologist as well, and but got so ill we had to come back to America. So I got to see America through the lens of a kid that didn't go to school in the early days, and when I saw this Constitution, this rule of law, this prosperity, health, and security, I knew that I was going to dedicate my life to preserving it. And so went to the Air Force Academy, studied astronautical engineering, was a fighter pilot in the Air Force, but then on the command track rose to as a general officer commanding the major command in the Air Force. The one I was in charge of was Air Education and Training Command, so all recruiting, training, and educating for the Air Force. And in the process of doing that, space has been at the forefront of the grand strategy. Part of my role was as a strategist on the Joint Staff, primarily for Russia, NATO, and Europe. But the art of war and the art of strategy ultimately are about economics. And the art of war is truly, if you do it right, you can win without firing a shot, because you win the hearts and minds, you win the strategy, not the fielded forces, and you understand the economics is the key, and then downstream from economics is the security, prosperity, and health. So I bring all that to the table with regard to the state of our world today and all that we're struggling with, whether it's the over-controlling governments trying to steal our freedoms, or whether it's the technologies that can defend our future. And this is why I fought so hard for a Space Force, because a Space Force is literally the institutional wedge in history that will allow America to defend its Constitution, its economy, its sovereign soil, its people, and its government. Because space is truly an ocean of commerce. And without a Space Force, it would be like being in America and not having a Navy to defend the global commons of the open oceans, because the commerce of space is larger than land, air, and sea combined as we move forward. So that's kind of my background and what brings me to this show. But this is so much bigger than just the Space Force. It's so much bigger than just America defending itself in the new economy. It's about America defending its values enshrined in our Constitution, where the people are in control and the government is not allowed to steal your freedom, your liberty, your privacy, and all the things that are important to our values as American people. So that's why I'm here, Joe, and I thank you for giving me a few minutes to talk about all of this.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I have like 150 questions written down, so I can't wait to get into this. I just want to say first and foremost, though, like this is probably an understatement, but I was a troubled kid. I actually had dreams and aspirations of joining the military, but because of the very stupid mistakes I made as a kid, I was not able to. As hard as I tried, I was not able to get in. My old man was a mechanic for the Marine Corps, and I've always looked up to him for that. He fought in Vietnam, and I don't know why. He didn't tell the story why, but like when veterans would be recognized, like say in church or at different events, he wouldn't stand. And I never understood that. everybody that watches this show has heard my story to the point where I was honestly in my last day of jail when my father died. And in that room, he told everyone that was there, which was minus me, that his dying wish was for everyone to go vote for Donald Trump. This was in 2015. And it sent me on this path, right? It sent me on this path where I had to figure out why my dad said that, being all the things that I just told you and much, much more. So I first and foremost want to say thank you very much for your service. And you coming on the show, it means more than just a movement to me. It's very personal because of what my father taught me. And being that you're on our side and you're fighting at the tip of the spear with all these things, that is why I don't mean to ever put anyone on a pedestal, but just so you have my background and hopefully can understand why I look up to people like you so very, very much.
Well, I appreciate those sentiments, and I take them personally and gratefully. I understand your feelings, though, and I will pay you a compliment, and that is that uh, in the fight we're in, and something that your father understood deeply, those that are the front line of information are the most valuable players because the most lethal weapon on the planet is right between our ears. And understanding and helping to shape the knowledge and awareness of people is the first step, because without a knowledge of what's going on around you, all your actions can be counterproductive to your values and your best interest. And, if I had to guess, because I've been there too, your father didn't want to stand because he felt like he was a puppet of a government that was using him in ways that were not being expressed, that his freedom was being stolen away by a lack of transparency on what was going on and why. And that there's a little bit of shame in that, where I don't want to stand and be recognized for something I feel was not serving the American people, but rather serving powerful governments that were trying to push a global agenda that is inconsistent with our Constitution.
Yeah. Yeah, I always got the vibe. He wouldn't talk about it, and the very little stories he told me. Here's one. So, like I said, he was a mechanic, so he wasn't very high up on the intellect scale as far as rank. However, he also wasn't on the front line and holding a gun, but he did do things like have to wash the blood off of bolts so that he could fix the helicopter to send the rest of his friends back out there. And that was about as deep as he would get with conversations. And I didn't even realize I was going to say this, sir. I
Yeah.
apologize, but man,
No.
it's like deep to think back on.
Well, and being a mechanic is one of the highest forms of intellect. And but I will tell you that his intellect was superior because it's not just about what goes on in the brain; it's what goes on in the heart and in your intuition. And for him to understand in 2015 what Trump represents is a deep wisdom and intellect that is far superior to any PhD out there with 140 IQ. You can be really, really smart and be really foolish about what is really going on in humanity. And your father clearly had the superior intelligence of being able to understand what was really going on and to spot a person that was part of a strategy to free our people.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I appreciate you letting me get that off my chest. Like I said, I didn't realize that was going to come out, but
That's
I would
good.
love to just kind of give you the reins at this point. Do you want to tell us why it's so important that we have a space force at this point in time?
Yeah, so we can start there. And again, I want to reiterate a really important point, and that is that the art of war, whether you study Sun Tzu all the way down through some of the more recent strategists and theorists, the art of war is about peace through strength. And this is one of the reasons why President Trump resonates with those that fight to defend our country. because they understand that it's not about the weapons. It's not about having a better rifle, a better tank, a better plane, submarine, or ship. It's about the intellectual pursuit of a superior strategy that builds a superior economy that can build the defensive capability and the strategies so that no other force on the planet would ever dare trying to rival the power of America. And so this deeper understanding about the nature of conflict is one reason why the Space Force is so important, because technology can change fate. If Germany had invented the nuclear bomb before America, it would be a very different future we would be living right now, because evil people are willing to use weapons without constraint. And the other piece of this is that space, this is something most people may not be tracking unless you've studied space technology your whole life, like I have, as not only an astronautical engineer out of the Air Force Academy, but also an ongoing passion to learn about technology and how it changes economies, how it changes geopolitics. That the space technology has evolved to a point where it is so powerful that if we are not up there as an equal player, if not dominant, we will be the victims if somebody were to use that power against us. And I'll give you a perfect example. And this example is about the economics of warfare as well. Once you invest in a space neural network or a mesh network in space, um, you can now see and kill anything that flies above the trees in seconds. And every bullet, if you will, whether it's electromagnetic in nature or like a directed weapon of energy, or whether it's kinetic, every bullet is a fraction of the cost of what we currently have invested. Our missiles and our tanks, planes, ships, anything we would use to try to defend can be blown out of the water for pennies on the dollar of what we invest. So, in the art of war, most conflicts or struggles for values happen over a long period of time. And if you run out of economic throw weight, if you run out of economic power, you're going to lose. And that is what it will happen in space if we did not have a space force to start building the low cost capability and technologies to be able to defend ourselves against any comer, any despot, any tyrant, any nation or civilization that tries to come after America, that we can affordably take them out at the knees as long as it takes, and we don't run out of money. Our economy is strong. That's why the Space Force was so important, to build and employ these technologies that give us power and strength, so that through that power and strength, there is peace.
The first question that brings up for me, I hear you talk a lot about, the race with potentially like China or other countries, right? We're talking about borders, and a lot of the research that's done within the group that I would think watches this show has come to the conclusion that the borders don't necessarily mean as much as they did. Say, like when we were talking about my dad versus Vietnam, more so the entity that we're facing would be global. For lack of better terms, you can name it whatever you want: elites or the globalists, the central banking system, right? All the things that people talk about within this movement. So, Space Force also seems to be super engrossed within intelligence, right? So we're talking about satellites. We're talking about you were talking about weapons and things. It, is it being saved? Is it being used to save our country from within, as well as you talk about without, like China? Do you know what I mean? Like the corruption and things that have. We believe we've been infiltrated.
Yeah, we have.
So, are these forces being used for good on our own soil, type of deal?
Yeah, so this is a great question, and it's a deep question because it really gets back to the fact that every piece of technology can either be used for good or for evil. Um, and you know, a gun can be used to provide food for your family, or it can be used as a weapon to violate the values that we hold dear, that you don't take human life. Technology can be used in many different ways. But if technology is developed and you're the only one that doesn't have it, then you are essentially placing yourself at a subordinate position to your fellow travelers on this planet. That they're going to be kind to you, they're going to be benevolent, they're going to respect your values, and they're never going to try to control you or change what you believe to be true. Space is a global force, and it can be a global force for good or for evil. And this is why you need more than just the technology. You also need the culture of America that raises good people that believe in these values of human dignity, respect for all people, and the values of dignity and self-sufficiency, privacy, all the things that our Constitution guarantees to us. And it is a tool to help with those enemies from within, and it's a tool to defend ourselves against the enemies from without. But ultimately, if we do not vote in politicians that are good people that believe in these values, evil politicians will use this technology for evil intent, and that has happened. And it is something that we as a culture have to defend against. That's why the Space Force conversation is not the main conversation. The main conversation is the one you're having with your listeners, and that is the hearts and minds of the American people waking up to the fact that we are being controlled and our freedoms are being stolen away little by little to where we don't even notice it. And we give up these powers to our government, and now we are victims. We are basically slaves to our government. And if we do not take that back and start voting in politicians that are willing to break the back of this control mechanism that has been growing for decades, then all the technology in the world will not save us. But when we do vote in good people that understand the nature of our civilization and our Constitution, now these technologies can be used to usher in peace through strength, because good people will not use violence unless there's no other way. And we are still at a point where if we vote in the right president and down ballot with good people that believe in these values that are all American, we have the technologies to build the security, prosperity, and health and avoid war. So it's not too late, but it requires everybody waking up to the main event, and that is only giving your power of a vote to people that believe in our Constitution and in our values. And our values and our Constitution are not socialism. They are not communism. They are not any of the isms. And we can talk a little bit about things people can read to understand why those things are antithetical and opposite of what our Constitution promises. But ultimately, we as an American people, the only thing that will defend us is our culture of values, with everybody standing up and doing something about it.
General, you have no idea. You just struck a chord near and dear to my heart, and I want to get more into that, but I only because this comment had so much. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is going to have you reiterate a point that you just made. People in this movement have a tendency to look at things very white hat or black hat, very good or bad, evil or good, right? So it's very one sided. It's either one way or it's the other, and I don't necessarily buy into that completely. And I think this comment will set us up to have that conversation. But somebody in the comments said, I have zero knowledge of the real mission of Space Force, but have noticed rumors of it supporting transhumanism and nanotech. For that, I think I heard it from whoever. Before you comment, I am of the belief that technology is going in a direction it's going kind of unstoppably at this point. What I tend to believe is that we need to have the right people in control of our government, which goes back to what you were talking about with voting, because everything, as you said, can be used for good or bad. Would you like to make a comment on that?
Yeah, so I would encourage your listeners to kind of read historical examples about how none of us are all good, none of us are all bad. We are all very complex creatures, but we're all loved equally by God. So you have to have this sense of humility where you don't know everything, you don't know the full story. Only God knows the full story, and you have to walk in as wise as a serpent, but as kind as a dove, and to paint things black and white. Obviously, can sometimes um, allow you to miss the truth that you can triangulate by understanding some more subtleties about what's going on. But so this goes to the point that I'd like to make with regard to that comment by one of your listeners about what space is being used for. And I will tell you, if we were sitting around a campfire as cavemen right now, and there was no fire, and somebody invented the fire, there would be a whole host of people that would say it is immoral to invent that fire or to control that fire because now somebody's going to burn down the forest and kill all our plants and our animals. They will use it as a weapon of terror, and we're going to destroy the world. There will be no more green because people will burn everything down. There's an example of a technology, meaning how to control fire, how to start fire, that turned out to be a blessing for the human race. More people live in prosperity, health, and security now because we learned how to harness fire, and now it's led to all these other technologies. Space technology is no different. Okay, it's just it's the same notes, but just playing a different song of innovation, and the same characteristics of the human spirit will emerge if we nurture families and raise children that are good, that love their God and love their fellow creature and understand that God loves their enemy as much as he loves you. We have a fighting chance as a human race to harness these inventions and use them for good. Because ultimately, I believe there are more good people on this planet than there are evil people. And even though I'm not the judge of whether you're good or evil, nor should I define you're good or you're bad without, leaning on God's judgment, because you have to look in the heart of the person. I am confident that if we get together and understand the nature of the politics, that we can vote good people into office that can harness these technologies and use them for good. And when we see people using them for evil intent, and those two things he described can be very, very evil, that we design strategies to stop them and we hold them accountable because they're violating our values of the dignity of the human spirit, the human body, and the respect for every human being on the planet.
Yeah. So people have a tendency to get feared up, and I think I don't want to get too into this right away, but I think that that's being done on purpose at this point. However, people run on emotion, and we do things now that we're becoming more aware as a society. Like look back at movies, potential predictive programming, right? The movie Terminator, right? Just as an example. I just saw a report come out of China that they are literally using brain tissue in computer chips to run robots. So this is literally the opposite of putting a Neuralink chip, say, into the brain of a human. They're using stem cell research to put brain tissue into a computer chip to run a robot. So this gives a robot the potential to think on its own. If I understood the report I read correctly, I don't know if this is within or without your level of expertise, but I'd love to hear just your thoughts on it.
Yeah, so it's not in my level of expertise, but I'll go back to some principles that that have been taught to us both in the Bible and historians that understand human nature. And God made every human being for good and not for evil. And he has a plan for good and not for evil. And so anything that that we as a human race, anything God has created, has planted in deep in their heart this desire for free will and the desire to do good. I got to see that in Africa, where my father, when I was 4 months old, is when he took us over there. He was going to a tribe that was so far removed from Western civilization that he could chart the language and the culture without all the fog of Western civilization clouding how a tribe evolves without external influences. And I'll tell you what, those people were more holy than anybody I know. And I mean, when we talk about how God plants the seed of goodness inside all of us that can be nurtured by parents and grown into good people that love one another and love their God, it is a powerful thing. So as we see these crazy experiments that violate God's law of your body being a temple, and to be something to be cherished and protected and nurtured, to be healthy as God intended, both your human body and then the family unit, a man and a woman and children raised in a family unit where we have roles and responsibilities and we are equal, but we are playing our part that God has designed. When we depart with that, from that, with some of these experiments you see, it's not a good thing. And if they find beneficial things from it, if there's human tissue in those robots, that human tissue will have, in my opinion, will have planted in it these seeds of goodness that God has created in all of us to choose good over evil,
Wow.
even though we are susceptible to evil. So I don't know how it'll turn out. If I had to guess, they will find that that does not really provide the things they're looking for. Because the things they're looking for in AI and in what the Chinese are doing, they're looking for two things that any expert in AI will tell you are unachievable. Because AI just looks really smart because it's so damn fast and it can devour so much information so quickly. So you feel like, it's an unfair fight, and it is. But there's two things AI or any robot cannot do. And forgive me for the balloons. I don't know
That was fun.
what app I have on my. I need to turn that one off. But there are two things that actually was very apropos, because the two things that God gave us that no machine will ever have is vision and creativity. Now, AI may look creative and it may look visionary because it's so damn fast. I'll provide to you one perfect example of how AI, as it is used today and as it's forecast by all AI experts, will never have vision and never have creativity. And that is that after AI was really starting to get up and running a couple of years ago, there was a Stanford student that wrote a program in a couple of months that is out there now, where you can take anything that has been videotaped or anything you're looking at or reading, and you can run it through this program, and it will tell you exactly what percentage of content was created by AI and what percent of the content was created by humans. And it can do so because it is so black and white when you use AI to discover AI, how predictable AI is, because it's just a fancy algorithm that moves so fast and that it looks creative and it looks visionary, but it is not. It is an extension of a human programmed set of values that is so predictable and identifiable that if you use AI against AI, you know exactly what you're looking at and what part was human created, what part was AI created.
That takes me down a whole rabbit hole I don't want to touch on yet, because
Okay.
that would go into full circle what we talked about, putting the right people in charge, right? So if you had evil entities in charge of one AI program and you had good entities, not to go back to the white hat black hat thing, but in charge of the other and you put them up against each other, that almost sounds like the potential for some of the things we believe are rooted in what we're seeing today. There's some people that believe that things like the boards, Q drops, were at least influenced by some AI. We don't think we as a society have come. I think it's pretty well agreed upon that technology isn't. We don't know about the things that are actually happening. We find out much later. I also believe that that's happening politically, right? So I think things have happened, and we're finding out about them much later in a presentation, so that we can digest it safely. That's just what I believe, but that's
Yeah.
beyond the point. I find that very interesting what you were just talking about. It kind of
Yeah.
blows my mind.
And so this is why, though, it's really important to stay ahead of technology for those of us that believe in God and believe in the sanctity of every other human being. Because this is this is a fight that is far larger than what we see. It is a fight of principalities. It is a fight between good and evil, and that has been promised to us by God, and the Bible speaks of it constantly. We just have to be aware that there are spiritual forces happening around us that we cannot understand. But technology can change fate. And so, just like with the game of chess and the game of Go, when AI first beat a human being, everybody thought it was going to be the end of the world. But then what we discovered is when AI was coupled with a human being, no AI on the other side of the table could beat it. In other words, when you combine human creativity and vision with the technology, a machine can't beat you. But you have to have better technology. So your example, for example, let's say you had somebody that had evil intent, and they were using AI to try to gain an advantage or enslave you. It is incumbent upon us that believe in the rule of law and our Constitution to develop AI or technology tools that are equal or better than our adversary, so that between the strategist and the vision and creativity of the human mind and the assistance of the technology, we can always defend our values. And that's where the Space Force comes in, because new horizons like space bring new challenges and new technologies. And if we fall behind other countries that are pursuing the dominance of the space economy, then we can be victims. Even though we're good, even though we believe in the sanctity of the human spirit, if we are lazy and do not develop the technology, it would be like America not building a Navy when we knew that the Navy and the Coast Guard were going to be essential to defend the global commerce of the open oceans and our borders. So we have a responsibility as God's people, defending a constitution that lays out all of the laws that God has given us in the Ten Commandments and the Bible, and we have to fight for it, or evil has an advantage, and we can be victims of that. So it's really incumbent on us to fight for that in our own sectors. But everybody can do one thing that's really important. Everybody can fight for the knowledge and the understanding of what is really going on here. What is the real fight? And this is why I have such respect and admiration for you, because you are sharing with America and the world um, a visibility into what's really going on. And what's really going on is a global struggle for control of the human spirit that will steamroll over these democracies or the US Constitution and usher in socialist ideologies or communist ideologies that are the beginning slippery slope of total control of people. And the reason these ideologies are the tool of choice is because when you have politics that abide by communist, socialist type ideologies, then the only people that will win in that political realm are people that are willing to lie, cheat, and steal and kill to gain advantage. And if you want to read, what is old is new again, because there's nothing new under the sun. This dynamic has taken place before. Just go back and read The Road to Serfdom again, which chronicles World War II and how Hitler used information warfare to basically hijack an entire culture that then he hijacked to enact a global campaign to dominate the world. And only because America had people that were willing to invest in the technologies and the strategies to meet and exceed what Germany and Japan were building, did we eventually defeat them. Not in a decisive battle, but in an economic war where our engine of economy was able to outlast their engines of economy. And that's what the Space Force does. The Space Force can enact an industry of such competitive advantage economically that we can defend our borders, our sovereign soil, we can defend our forces that we have already built, like planes, ships, and tanks, against an adversary for affordable price points, and therefore defend our Constitution. So these all fit together, but it is incumbent on us to do the hard homework of understanding what's going on around us and doing our homework and voting for the power we give to the person so that it's the right person with the right idea consistent with history, human nature, and our Constitution. And right now, President Trump is that man, and there is no other comers that are even close to understanding the global struggle that's currently we're undergoing, and has a strategy to beat that back. That's why your dad loved him, because he could see this guy was going to make sure that a Vietnam never happened again. And that's why he loved him. And his intuition and understanding and wisdom to be able to see that in 2015, he is way ahead of the power curve of people in our country that have become so lazy they aren't even paying attention to what took place in the 50s and 60s and didn't understand President Trump and what he is doing.
That's, look, you pretty much just encapsulated everything that I stand for and this show stands for, and the whole family that we've built around this Rambo and Friends thing stands for. And I want to get more into it, but I'd also like to back you up for just a second. This question's been eating me up. I've heard you talk about new technologies like trickle down charging and very fast travel compared to what we're used to. The paradigm that we live in at this point. I love that word that you use all the time because it encapsulates a lot of what I think we deal with. We look back into history and we see things like where the World's Fair, right? Running water and electricity that is kind of unexplainable. We see things like pyramids that were built that people debate to this day on how it was done. It seems to me that a lot of history has potentially been hidden from us. And I would think, this is me just speculating, but people as brilliant as the people that are this tip of the spear when it comes to things like Space Force have potentially unlocked some of what we would look at as hidden history or conspiracy or whatever. Can you go into some of those emerging technologies that some of us think may have already been around for a very long time?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, it can be a long answer, but I'm going to keep it short. And I'm going to start by just pointing everybody back to Tesla. This is not the car company. This is Nikola Tesla that was competing with Edison for how do we deliver electricity to people. And so what is fascinating about this is that Tesla's idea of using radio waves to deliver energy was much more efficient and was much safer for everybody to have abundant energy to do everything that energy can do for a human being. But the reason Edison's idea won the race back in the day was because, one, he was a better marketer, but the other was that they couldn't figure out how to monetize Tesla's idea, meaning it's easy to monetize electricity when you have a power wire come into your house and you have a little meter on it and you can see how much electricity flowed through that wire. And then you can come and read that meter and charge you the money that you need. But we now know how to charge people for radio waves. You know, your cell phone, for example, is a perfect example. Satellite radio, satellite TV. So that problem's been solved. But what happens in societies and in governments is that the people that come up with a certain idea get rich with that idea. So electricity with a power plant and with power lines going into every house that is, you know, with electricity that's dangerous, you don't want to stick your finger into the plug, and we protect our children from that. And that's vulnerable. All somebody has to do is cut the power line, going hundreds of miles, and they've turned out the lights. That these we what happens is the people that get rich on an idea protect that, and sometimes to the death. And they protect it not only by marketing it in our politicians and in the jobs and in the military industrial congressional complex of lobbyists making sure you don't do something new because something new might steal away my profit as a company. We trap ourselves in what I call these paradigms of the past. So we as an American society have been trapped in the paradigm of electricity coming from a power plant through power lines to our homes and businesses. And we have really never, ever even tried to step out and do anything different, even though we know that the technology exists to deliver all of that energy through radio waves that is safer and cheaper once you build the infrastructure. There's one example, but to the specific question you asked, the inventors are not the Space Force. You can think about the Space Force as as an institution that takes advantage of these technologies and designs them in a way that gives you a superior strategy. And I'll come back to that point in a second. The technology is invented by engineers on engineering benches around America. Okay, and these are creative people with vision and a willingness to try and fail until they find something that works. And so there are literally hundreds of inventions that have either died with the people that invented them, or have been put on a shelf somewhere and have never seen the light of day because the bureaucracy, the paradigm of the present kills it, squashes it, or rubs out the people that invented it because it threatens billions and sometimes trillions of dollars worth of revenue for people that are sitting fat on their hind legs, benefiting from a paradigm of the past. And it's not just electricity. I just gave that example as a short way of describing the fact that we could usher in a whole new era of energy delivery that can reach every person on the planet. And so that tribe I grew up in that right now still does not have a power plant. It doesn't have electrical wires going to the homes. It is subsistence living where they have to struggle to carry their water every day and grow the food or hunt for the game with spears and arrows. You could deliver energy to every person on the planet affordably, and think of how that would transform life. You could also deliver in that same form information, because information through radio waves is just a form of energy. So now think about how we as a human race could usher in a whole new era of information and energy to all people on the planet, and we give them the proper devices to be able to receive that affordably. And now you can walk around with a device that you don't have to plug into the wall. It trickle charges from the energy that we create from a new paradigm of energy delivery, and they can see on that device all the information they need. And now they can start throwing off the shackles of despots and tyrants that use water, use food, use shelter, and use money as a way of enslaving people all around the world. So we are right on the edge of greatness as a human race if we are able to get rid of this globalist agenda to control every government on the planet. And they are most afraid of America because America is filled with fighters that have the Second Amendment and are unafraid. We still have a culture in our hearts of self-sufficiency, fierce independence, the willingness to be a good rebel and stand up to tyranny. And it scares the hell out of those globalists that want to control us without violence. And they're trying to do that as rapidly as they can, and they're worried the cat is out of the bag. That is why they hate Trump so much, because he is, as he says, they are not coming after him. They're coming after us. He's just standing in the way. And if he can help us all wake up as an American citizen to what is really going on, and we can take back our power of controlling our government and not letting our government control us, the world cannot stop the innovation and the power of our economy that will be unleashed. And these ideas that have been buried for decades in many cases will come to light and will be enacted in ways that will transform the world.
I have overload. I ran through 50 questions I wanted to ask you, and now I'm completely blank because that was awesome. Here's a good one. So, it's pretty well known that our military is very compartmentalized. The Space Force is obviously, it seems to me, sort of a blanket operation where they have tentacles into all branches of military. Um, so I think this will lead us into more of the action, standing up and fighting for your country conversation. But there's certain things that have become like really important parts of the military as far as what I keep calling this movement is concerned. Space Force is for sure one. We keep getting drips of information like the X-37B plane that went up for 809 days just prior to the 2020 election and didn't come down till after the 20. It was up for Brazil. I believe it came down after the 2022 midterms. 8 + 9 17, by the way, just saying. But there's things like that, and then there's other branches of military like the 4th PSYOP group out of North Carolina that seem to be working hand in hand, if you're paying attention, with Space Force. Do you know what do you know the direction I'm trying to go with this? Is this something
Yeah.
that you're familiar with? Where maybe what I want to ask you about is 5th generation warfare, and this is why. We were just told that the U.S. sent troops to the Middle East. Well, Donald Trump told us that we would no longer announce future military plans. We would no longer announce troops on the ground or future military plans. Our enemy cannot think they can wait us out. However, or no one we're going to attack, but attack we will. I'm paraphrasing, but that was pretty much Trump's words. And then we get told things like we're sending troops here and we're sending troops there and we're going to do this next and we're going to do that next. And I'm thinking when I see that, there's no possible way that that can be real because they're telling us ahead of time. So now that makes me think about Space Force and the operations that we're finding out about slowly, certainly not on time. Things like the 4th PSYOP group and the whole Army versus Navy fun thing that they do. But at the same time, they're telling us that everything we touch is a weapon. We are everywhere. The world is a stage. So it is, as just somebody sitting back and trying to diagnose and dissect and look through the things we're going through, I see hope first and foremost, and I see reason to stand up and fight. We are being protected by some of the most brilliant minds on the planet. And Donald Trump, at the same time, we're getting the messaging of these very woke generals, right? The General Millies and the things that they put on TV. And at the same time as that, Donald Trump's telling you that we have the most brilliant generals on the planet, not the TV ones. They're just acting. So do you have thoughts on that whole process that we're going through as kind of like the belly of this movement where we're really breaking everything down?
Yeah, so what I would tell you is that this gets back to what is the most efficient use of our time, and the reason I say that is because you will never see a full picture of what's going on because of the classifications. And those classifications, sometimes they are overclassified and they could be shared without risk. But this gets back to the power you give to the politicians. Okay, so when you elect a president and that a president puts in charge the Secretary of Defense, and chooses secretaries of the services to do the organize, train, and equip and strategize and bring strategies from the president to the operational realm. You as a private citizen are never going to see the full picture. So it is frustrating as hell
It
to
is.
see one little piece of picture, and it's just human nature to try to fit them all together. But it is a waste of time because you're never going to get the full picture unless you are on the inside and understand the black and white. Black world and white world, meaning the classified world and the unclassified world, and the holistic picture of the grand strategy. So the reason I say that is because if you elect good people into the presidency, all of those tools of concealing and revealing for the art of national security and the art of war, whether it's dissuasion or it's deterrence or all the other mechanisms we use in international diplomacy and statesmanship as part of a geopolitical strategy to maintain America's preeminence so we can defend ourselves. If you elect somebody good into that office, they do good things with all that stuff. And President Trump did. And I was in there, I got to see it, okay, both on the classified world and the unclassified world. So you should know that when Trump, when a good man or woman is in an office, they do good things with all of that. When a bad person is elected into office, they do bad things with all of that. And so we are in control of who goes in. And this gets back to the vote, okay? And our citizen responsibility to focus on, if we're going to spend time trying to figure out what's going on, um, it's going to squander all your time, and you're going to be frustrated because you're never going to see the secrets that are oftentimes there for a very damn good reason. And if you know, then our enemy knows, and the whole plan goes to hell. And people die. Good people die. So there are reasons for classification. But if you have a fox in the hen's house, meaning you have voted somebody into office that does not believe in our Constitution or our values, then you're going to pay the price. So this goes back to our citizen responsibility. The time I spend here is who am I voting into office? Let me get to know that person. Let me understand who that person is. And then when they do get into office, if we do vote them into office, I am paying attention to every policy, every vote. And if I see a vote or a policy that is inconsistent with our values as Americans or our Constitution, which essentially enshrines our values, then we're going to, if that person can't explain themselves, then we're kicking them out of office as fast as possible. Now, our system is slow, so it may be that it's the next election cycle that we kick them out. But there's a lot of ways of revealing them as being somebody that needs to be a lame duck because they are not behaving consistent with the people that voted them into office. This is where the American people take back power, and this is the wake up call. America has been asleep since World War II, in the sense that we have become comfortable with all these creature comforts. We get up in the morning, we have our cup of coffee, we go to work, we come home, we hang out with our friends, watch a little TV, go to bed, rinse and repeat, have a barbecue on the weekend, everything's good. How much time do we spend paying attention to the people we're going to vote into office, talking to our community about that, looking at what the votes are and what the policies are that came out of the person you just elected to your school board, and saying, hey, this is not right, and we're going to march down to their office and we're going to tell them it's not right, and you need to change that policy, or you're out on your elbow the next time we vote. This is where power is as a citizen of America. And if we're too lazy to do that, then it's like our founding fathers said, it's only a republic if you can keep it. And you can only keep it if you have an informed electorate. And an informed electorate has to spend time doing their homework. We have not been doing that. That is not the habit of every American. That is not what our children are being taught. And so we are deserving what we get unless we throw off this blanket of deception, which you are throwing off, Joe. So that is why I'm so grateful to be here and why I'm grateful for your show, because you are part of this great awakening of the American people to reclaim their power by understanding what it means to be a true citizen and where the most efficient use of your time is. and it's in the people you vote into power, and then the policies that they are held accountable to, consistent with our values.
Yes. So that's where what you just said sums up something that I believe very deeply. That cloak of deception that you talked about. I think that the problems that we're facing right now that have a major exclamation point on the end of them: human trafficking, child trafficking, open borders, right? Even the debacle of a pullout out of Afghanistan, spy balloons, right? We can run the gamut. Fires that started simultaneously in Canada, all of these things, the corruption within our own government, right? Document cases and political persecution and weaponizing the Department of the Department of Justice, etc. Um, I think that these issues have existed for a lot longer than people realize. And it gives me hope and motivates me to fight even harder that it's being exposed in such a way that everybody's getting upset. I don't think the exposure of those things make me feel like anybody's just coming to save us. It makes me believe that good guys do have our backs and we should have theirs and further that agenda. So a lot of us think that we see that there's something happening. And you're right. When it's talked about, it can be confused as a message of you don't have to worry about anything because a white horse is going to ride in and save you. And I don't believe that to be true for a damn second.
Yeah.
If that was the case, the white horse would have rode in and saved us back in 2020 or maybe even decades before that.
Yeah.
Some of the research we've done on this show bring us back to this operation being a fight between good and evil for a long, long time.
Yeah.
What we're looking at right now in what I believe to be an exposure op is to get the public to be aware of what was already happening to them. And if that in your head tells you that you can sit and wait to be saved, then you are not understanding. This operation is playing out over this period of time to make you aware in a way that you stand up together and don't ever let it happen again.
Yeah. No, this is the central point. And the beautiful thing is the technology of our age, all of this technology and what you're doing right now, and the access to this by all people around the world is like a huge flashlight that we can shine a light on every dark corner where evil has been hiding for decades. And the light of day will save us in ways that we can't even understand. Now, there will always be little compartments of classification where, as good guys are trying to defend our nation, there's a need for some secrecy to avoid our enemy from understanding our strategy. But the main point here is one, with this technology, where everybody has no excuse about the fact that they should be able to see and understand everything that's going on to shine a light on all evil. And then you got to take action. There is nobody that's going to save you unless you are willing to be that citizen that stands up and says, okay, I'm going to educate myself. I'm going to be part of the solution. And I am going to invest time every day to understand what's going on around me and looking for a way to help. Even if it's just sharing with my community, with my neighbors, discussing these things, and most importantly, teaching our children, the young generation, so that children grow up being able to fight against what they're learning in their schools, and that we start stemming the tide of the propaganda that has been infecting our children's brains since the 60s. So this is a call to action. It is the great awakening, but it's not the great awakening of people thinking that there's somebody out there that's going to save us. It's the great awakening that we are going to save ourselves, and we have the technologies in our hands. It's just a matter of whether we care enough about our freedom to actually take it. And if you wait around for somebody else to save you, you're going to get what you deserve, and that is shackles and enslavement, whether it's through taxation or worse.
General Kwast, can I show you? Can I show you my favorite drop?
Yeah.
It has to. It's positive in what we're talking about. So this is my favorite Q drop that there is, right? Because I believe if you read it correctly, it encapsulates everything that we're talking about. This has never been attempted. The use of the general public to counter the narrative and the propaganda pushed by controlled media. Analysis starts to now. That controlled media, that's what I believe is that cloak of deception. Analysis start to now indicate situational awareness, decoupling of the MSDNC control of information channels through 1 through 99. I take that as all of television, fake news.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of general public expanding at massive pace. And this is the Great Awakening, us becoming aware of what they were hiding from us. They were already doing this crap to our country for tons of years. This moment is our chance to be aware and stand up against it. Attacks indicate and can be defined as loss of generalized information control. They're losing control because we're standing.
Yeah.
No need to expand ammunition, muster network, defend coordinated attacks to counter. Military civilian alliance. I love this. I have used this in about 3,000 posts because, unbeknownst to some people in society, they weaponized every establishment against us. Hollywood, just run the gamut. The school system, big pharma, government, everything. The financial system, it has all been weaponized against we the people. And what's happening right now is we are being weaponized back against those evil forces, which is why we need to stand and do something about it. Do you agree with me, General Quest?
I do. And the key here is like in the art of war, if you have a superior strategy, you can win without firing a shot. You can win without violence. You can win without having to do anything other than shining a light on the evil. Because again, if there's more of us that are good than are evil, the evil, like cockroaches, will run for the dark. And we're going to keep shining that light on them till they cannot run anymore. So it's really important for people to understand that the grand plan here is to abide by the rule of law and our Constitution and be firm about our stance. This is a superior strategy that will win against all the ideologues that are trying to ratchet more and more control from the government. And if we vote the right person in that already has, a lot of capability from the first 4 years, we are in store for finally hitting that tipping point, if you will, where you cannot stop what is coming.
I love that. I love that you just said that. So I got a question for you again. I went through a lot of self-help programs due to that addiction issues and the things that I touched on earlier. When I did go to college, I did not get my degree, but what I did study was psych. Until I found out I was never going to make any money. That's what I did. And then partying became more important. But there seems to me to be, if I take a step back and take a 40,000 foot view at everything that I believe I'm seeing, there almost has to be a slight injection of hope to counter what you just talked about. Because if there wasn't a slight level of hope for the people that are seeing things a little bit more clearly than some, that could potentially send things in the wrong direction where violence could occur.
Yeah.
So I think that some of the things that, like, say, we talked about this pre-show. Donald Trump, I thought about it and prayed about it before the show. Donald Trump says some things that that a lot of the people that are in the top positions in this movement, yourself and some others included, don't typically talk about. Like when he says things like, we're sort of having my second term right now. We just don't want the results of this term. Or am I going to be considered a 2-term or a 3-term president? When the drops connect perfectly to his assassination attempt, right?
Yeah.
That is a really, really tough one for people to grasp. However, I think there's levels to this Great Awakening. I know I certainly have had a process where things started to like not make sense. And then I really swung full pendulum to the other side where I really dove into some hopium type stuff where I was kind of like off. And then I settled back into the middle where I believe at this point, and I'm sure in 6 months it'll be a bit different, that things have become a little bit more clear. And when I say that, I say it because new people see things like Donald Trump say that we're sort of in my second term right now. New people see, I mean, Can I show you another one? One more quick. This
Sure.
is something that's been out there that is really kind of unexplainable, right? So let me back up. Everybody's seen this, right? This is the most iconic picture potentially in American history. But I mean, Donald Trump was shot in the ear, and he screams "fight, fight, fight" in front of everybody. And then we look back, and the drops say "fight, fight, fight," and have that exact picture. That's really weird, General Kwast, and I don't need your opinion on that. My point in bringing this up is, I think that the people that are paying attention as close as the audience that watches this almost need that hope, or we would go off the rails. Is there any reality to what I'm bringing up here, in your opinion?
Yeah. So what I will tell you is, throughout the Bible and even in our age, uh, there have been people that can, have visions and can understand, are prophetic, if you will. And what I would say is that again, we can easily become enamored with all that we don't know. And whether it's UFOs or whether it's there's a whole even things we don't know about the military. We have a fascination as human beings to want to know everything we can't know
Right.
or we don't understand. But in my view, the purpose of everything you just pointed out there is to plant a seed of curiosity in the minds of Americans to get them to actually do the homework themselves. Because if somebody comes in and paints the whole picture, even though one, they don't know the whole picture because the story hasn't been written yet, there just might be a superior strategy, but the strategy doesn't mean it's going to come out the way we want it to. But there's great hope because the strategy is superior. But these are ways of planting seeds in the minds of everybody. Goes back to your expertise. The psychology of teaching you to fish and not giving you a fish is critical. To plant in the minds of every American that it's your job to dig into these things and understand what's going on around you and ask the questions. And there's nothing more powerful than planting a dilemma in the mind of another human being that is in the form of a question. And that question, if the person is not intellectually curious enough or motivated enough to start digging in on their own and learning on their own, then in the future, when something happens, they will remember that dilemma in the form of a question that's sticking in their brain and say, ah, that person obviously knew something I didn't know. Why didn't I know that? Could I have known that? And sometimes it can kickstart a lazy mind into starting to pay attention to their world and fighting for what they love. And, for us, it's our freedom, it's our liberty, it's our children, our grandchildren. It's for God's plan for humanity to live in peace with one another. And so we are fighting this globalist ideology of one world government that is antithetical to everything God has taught us about variety being the spice of life and the diversity and the beauty of all these cultures and all these people that God loves equally. And we are fighting for that and for our freedoms to all make these choices on our own. This is the central point of all of this. It's not to prove that there are prophets or that quantum can see the future or all of the other theories about how this all works out. All of them have merit, and we can talk till the cows come home about all of them. Its purpose is to wake us up. And if we don't wake up because we're too distracted about wanting to know what we don't know, we're missing the entire point that if you don't work as if all of this is up to you as an individual citizen, and you don't pray as if it's all up to God, the two ends will never meet. We all wake up and we will win. That's the great hope. So be a part of it. Don't stand beside. Make sure you're courageous enough to talk to your neighbors, your friends, your families. And some of them may turn away from you, but that's in the Bible too. That if you speak for truth, and you may be hated, but if you're hated for the right reason, you are on God's side. You are on the side of history.
Well, another huge point of hope for everybody. Look, I can't take credit for this. I had just moved to the area when it happened. But when I got here, I I paid attention to local politics, the school board specifically, because my son was going to a new school. And as we moved here, only a few months since we got here, the school board flipped from all blue to all red, and it gave me major hope about this South Central Pennsylvania town that I moved into. I bring that point up because everybody always asks, because I do push this action thing all the time, right? Anybody time somebody tells me about one of my posts that you're telling people to sit back and wait, I come back with, that is absolutely not what this is about. This is about action. And then they always ask, it's always the next question, what can we do? I would argue that some of the social media and conversations amongst friends are a huge part. That's a huge start. But is there anything that you can suggest everybody on what they can do to get active or help in their local communities or research, whatever it might be?
Well, yeah, so I'll harken back to some of the things I said on this. One, have you mapped out who are the elected officials that are in your county and in your district? Do you know their names? Okay. Do you know their voting record? What have they voted for over the last couple of years or since they've been in office? Do those policies and voting actions align with your values and the Constitution? And that's the first place to start. If you want, you can start volunteering for, helping with the vote, getting people out to vote. Just make sure that you're bringing 10 people to the voting booth that you've been nurturing a conversation with about the reality of our situation and the need to throw off the tyranny of government trying to take control of our lives. So there are so many places you can start, but you also have to look in your own heart and say, what are you motivated to do? And if the answer is I'm not motivated to do anything, well, then you deserve slavery. You got to be motivated to do something. So figure it out, and you can start there. What I would propose to you, though, is if you just start by mapping every elected official in your county, district, or sector, and then you start taking a look at the votes and the policies they've enacted, you will start getting pissed off about this person and what they did a year ago to allow pornography into your children's room. Or if you're living in California, that you as a parent have no right to tell the government, the government can tell your child they need a sex change operation, and you have no right to know as a parent, and you have no right to block the government from doing that. I mean, this is how evil it has become in certain sectors of our country. So I challenge you, if you don't know what to do, start by mapping every elected official and mapping all of their policies. And within the first few hours, you're going to hit on something that you're like, I cannot believe that that book is being read to my children about, whatever it might be. And now you know what to do.
Awesome. So, I promised you an hour and a half when we did this on the phone a month or so ago. So what I'd like to do right now is kind of give you the floor. First of all, is there anything that you would love to present to everybody that we didn't touch on, as I keep directing the conversation in different directions? And whether there is or there isn't, is there any place where people can find anything that you do, or maybe some good resources on what it is that you talk about?
Well, so I suppose I'd want to use the remaining time. And again, I don't need all 12 minutes of it or 11 minutes of it, but um, it's pretty simple. It comes back to some self-reflection for each of us as citizens of this country. And the first question is, what do you believe? I mean, what is your worldview? Is your worldview that God created us, man and woman, and a family unit as the central hub of being good and choosing good over evil? Do you believe that there's a struggle between good and evil, and that Satan plays his way in what is unseen, that is even larger than what is seen, this battle of principalities? Do you believe that if you are a good person, that has value? So first, start by doing some reflection on what you believe, and if you aren't sure, you go back to the greatest leadership book ever written, It's called the Bible. And now sometimes it's hard to read through the Bible, so I'll give you a poor man's approach that I use, and it started at COVID, and it was one of the biggest blessings in my life because I grew up as a Baptist, and reading the Bible was essential. Memorizing verses of the Bible was essential, but I always had a hard time reading through it and understanding its historical context and some of the leadership lessons that were being taught about civilizations and about people. But there was but Father Mike Schmitz in Bible in a Year is a podcast where 20 minutes every day, and in 1 year, you've listened to the entire Bible and you've heard somebody give their opinion on what that Bible verse means in a way that is, it is just, it's beautiful, it's wise, it's powerful. But if you're searching for what it is you really believe and what you believe the worldview is that you believe in, start with the Bible and see if that resonates with you. And the Bible in a Year with Father Mike Schmitz is a good place to start, where it's easy to digest. And all you have to do is spend 20 minutes a day to build a new habit. And I'm telling you, that will wash over you in a way that is beyond the physical understanding, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, even physically. And then once you have a handle on what you value and what you believe and your worldview, then you're going to know what right looks like and what wrong looks like. You're going to know where you need to stand and fight and where it's really not worth your time, where you pick your fights. And then I would suggest, reading some history about the similar points in time where a civilization was being enslaved through propaganda and government policies that steal your freedom and steal your money. And because we are fighting against ideologies of communism, socialism, and this sense of what's mine is yours and what's yours is mine, and all we have to do is all just share with one another and everybody will be happy. That would be ideal if we were all angels, but we live in an imperfect world. The book I would have you read is the one I mentioned, and that's The Road to Serfdom, because it chronicles the exact thing that is happening now, but back in between World War I and World War II, and the rise of Hitler and Germany that threatened the entire world. And the patterns are the same. The ideologies of isms, communism, fascism, socialism, are the same. The propaganda techniques to infiltrate the education system and the entertainment system, to dominate a information warfare and a narrative warfare, to hijack the value system of the youth, and then employ those youth to kill those that are not in alignment. This is the great killing machine of our age. And the beauty is we do not have to repeat that history because we have technologies now that can prevent the propaganda from seeping into our lives. And that's what Joe Rambo is doing. That's what a lot of these podcasts are doing. They are finally breaking through on venues. And those venues are going to get better and better. It's going to be beyond the ones we have now, where we can bypass the TV. And stop listening to the TV and believing the TV, because the TV has been bought and paid for by ideologues that believe in government control, that they know better than the average citizen about what your taxpayer money should be spent on, and how you should live and what kind of choices you should make in your life. And we can shine a light on all these dark corners if each of us are willing to shine the light in our neighborhoods, in our communities, and in the states that we live in as a block that are powerful. Because it's not the federal government that should be powerful here. It is the individual embodied in a state that has the ability to throw off the shackles of a tyrannical government. And make no mistake, as a student of history and a student of the art of war, we as an American society are being hijacked by a government that thinks it knows better. And if we do not vote for President Trump to come in and help correct the record as they are maligning him and trying to use lies with little elements of truth to try to get you to believe that he is exactly what they are. If you do not break out of this habit of listening to the TV and believing the TV, we will not be able to fight against the narrative and propaganda. This is why podcasts like this are so important and why you need to share them and then discuss them and talk about it and find truth for yourself. Do not believe in a hero that's going to come in and save you. Trump is only there to give the structure and the strategy for us to succeed as a human race and as an American race. But America will be the shining city on the hill that is ushering in the same path to success that other countries want in the worst way. China has its own deep state. They're fighting. Russia has their own deep state that people in Russia are fighting. The people of these countries are beautiful and good, and God loves them as much as he loves us. But when there is a tyrannical party that believes in communism or socialism or these isms that steal freedom away, the people suffer. And America can help usher in a new era of freedom using the technology that Joe is ushering in right now and thousands of others. So thank you, Joe, for letting me talk a little bit about kind of the big picture here. And all of us do our own part. So I am building a company that's going to usher in the space technology that can help save our country from those that are building superior strategies, but less superior tactics and techniques and procedures. That's my contribution, so that when President Trump is in office, he has technologies to allow us to defend ourselves. But we're not going to give that technology to somebody who does not believe in our values and our Constitution. That's why the private sector is so powerful and so important. Private companies that can build commercial capability to uplift the human condition. And then if the government is good, the government can use that for peaceful purposes. I'll end there for any last questions you have, Joe, before we sign off and let people get back to work.
Yeah,
freeing our country.
I have one. I don't think you've probably ever been asked before on a platform like this. First of all, what you just said was awesome. I couldn't have said it better, and it aligns with everything I believe. So thank you very, very much. I just want you to know before we get out of here, you have an open door policy. Please, please feel free. I can't wait to do this again with you, to be honest. What was, look, my struggles through addiction and self-help and psychology and all those things also led me to this point where I believe that everything is better in moderation, right? So we talk all the time about what we can do to fight for this country and what we need to do to stand up and all those things. I know you did something really cool, like you went to Australia just a short period of time ago. Some of the best friends I've made through this movement are in Australia. What I want to ask you is something just more personal, and you can take it as personal or a surface level as you'd like. But what was your favorite human? What was your favorite human thing you did this summer?
Okay, the favorite human thing I did this summer. Um, well, there's a couple of them. Some revolve around friends that are praying for peace in our world, and some of them were around family. But I'll pick the family one because the birth of our first grandson, Lucas, was this summer, and having the family together to celebrate God's gift of life and a new generation. This is what people ought to think about, that we are not just fighting for our own future, that we have a chance here of ushering in an American Constitution that is resilient because we have found the secret to our strength. And it's not the Constitution, it is our culture that is embodied in a belief in the biblical principles God taught us on how to live with one another in peace. And if we seize that cultural belief and we teach our children, if I teach Lucas these values from a young age, and I do not let the school system infect his mind with lies, I do not let the entertainment system infect his mind with false stories, we have a whole young generation that will stand up for God. They will stand up for other people and for love. Love is ultimately the only thing that we have that is pure and good and is sustainable. And we have to cling to this cultural power of teaching our children how to love. And we do it by taking them away from this propaganda that poisons their minds and infects their brains with all the sinful crap you see in movies and in TV shows that say it's okay to kill, it's okay to be deviant, it's okay to divert from what God teaches us. This is where the secret lies, and that's my favorite human event for the summer. My son and my grandson's birth.
Yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations. I love to keep it real with this audience. We just went to Hershey Park the other day, and it was a blast. The five
Yeah.
kids were up there doing loops on roller coasters, and me and Kim were sitting down checking the news and doing our Q drop digs and stuff. It was a blast, and the kids had a great time. Everybody got sunburned. It was fun.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, and God bless you for what you're doing, Joe. Again, you're the main effort, okay? And if people do what you say, we're going to be okay. And there is hope because God is on our side.
Well, don't be a stranger. I will stay in touch with you. If anything comes up, please feel free to reach out to me. I will have you on anytime we can make time. All right.
All right. Thank you. I will.
Thank you very much. Have a good day, sir.
Bye-bye.
Wow, guys. All right, stick with me because I'm going to be doing a giveaway here. I'm going to do a giveaway at the end here because there was no way I was interrupting that conversation with a man that I look up to as much as I look up to General Kwast to do commercials or sponsorship stuff. I wanted to have that full conversation, that full hour and a half. So I want to do some house cleaning and then so that you guys stay and hang out. And to promote our new sponsor, I'm going to give away one of the products for that sponsorship here at the end. So let me take my time as I go through this because the show has actually been offered a few new sponsors this week, and I have not yet come to we have not yet come to an agreement between me and one guy. But I'm going to shout him out anyway because I had a conversation with him on the phone this morning for like an hour, and dude is freaking awesome. So let's take a look quick at the new sponsor that you guys have all. I can't believe, to be honest, how much you guys have supported right from the gate with Epic Minerals. Patrick Gunnels, epicminerals.net, promo code Rambo. I haven't even gotten my order yet. But you guys have all, and this is what I'm going to give. I'm going to give away a bottle of Rainfall today. So stick with me here. But this is epicminerals.net. Oh shoot, hold on. I got to get back to the studio. I'm not sharing. Here we go. Boom, epicminerals.net. So this is the newest sponsor for the show. I cannot wait to get my stuff in the mail. I'm fully expecting that maybe it's outside right now or should be here by tomorrow. I have to go look, but you will see a bunch of amazing products. And like I said, a bunch of people have already jumped on board to support the show through this website and also get amazing products through epicminerals.net. And I first and foremost am super grateful that you guys did that. And here in just a minute, I will be giving away a bottle of Rainfall because everybody seems to love it, abs included. Everybody on this show knows about the My Pillow sponsorship. He was the first one. As soon as I started right up, Mike Lindell jumped right on board to support this show. So if you want to go get the percentage off that you get, I think it's 10. I'm not really sure off the top of my head. I don't have him pulled up, but mypillow.com, Mike Lindell's mypillow.com. Please go use promo code Rambo. It supports the show. And if you guys haven't noticed, with the sponsors that are jumping on board and going back to school here soon, I am trying to do my best to get to the point where I can do this full time. I don't know that we're there yet, but it's always been my dream to do radio ever since I started driving a truck when I was 18. And now I have a purpose and a thing that I love to talk about. So if we can do that and support other patriots like epicminerals.com and Mike Lindell and Kofefi.coffee, then I'm going to highly suggest that everybody support them that way so that I can put more time into this and get other amazing guests out here on a more consistent basis. So that's the deal. So with that, I am going to say thank you to the people that have supported. Oh, somebody, is it Belushi rated the channel? Thank you, Belushi. If you came over here yourself, bro, thank you very, very much for sending all your people over here. I apologize that we're wrapping up now. Maybe I'll set a raid and see who's out there and shit. Maybe we'll send you guys all over to 412. I like that, dude. But there was some gold pills over on pill.net. So Daisy Chains with the can. Cheers, friend. Thank you very much, Daisy Chains. Paul Thaddeus with the cookie. Thank you very, very much, Paul. And your boy Death with the can, just because I can. Thank you, your boy Death. I don't think I saw anybody on Rumble. You guys always know my last request. If you could, if you enjoyed the show, please send it to one of your best friends that might have the same perspective as we have, or might need a shot of hope or a shot of motivation. Because I believe that this show we just did today was full of motivation. General Kwast pretty much emphasized everything that I believe in. Get out there, do something about it, whether it's sharing information or fighting in your local elections or going to stick up for kids at the school board meetings, whatever it might be. Find your strength. If it's art, if it's music, whatever it is, get out there and do something, because collectively we win. Collectively we win, right? So with that, I'm going to put this out there. Everybody hit the positive affirmation button, share the show out, thumbs up on Rumble, red pill on pill.net. If you're over on X, please make a comment, share the show out, or join us on these other platforms. It means the world to me. So, who wants a bottle of Rainfall? I will personally, right after the show, go order it and ship it to you. Do not comment that you want it unless you are willing to go to Rambo and Frens at proton.me. That is the email. Rambo and Frens, one word, at proton.me. And you're going to have to give me some sort of mailing address, whether it's a P.O. box or whatever. And I will personally order a bottle of Rainfall and ship it out to you. So for anybody that's interested in that and is willing to do that, please go ahead and write, I don't know, what do we want to put in the chat? Kwast. Put Kwast in the chat. So KWAST, as we'll honor our guest today, General Kwast, for coming on the show. I am going to pick a number in my head. I'll write it down. There it is. There's the number for the day. If you guys could put Kwast in the chats, I will watch all of the chats and I will count them up. And as soon as we get to that number, I will give that bottle away. So I thank you guys all very, very much for coming out here. Again, while we're waiting, hit that positive affirmation button, share the show out, and know that every Thursday that I am available, we will be having absolute 1776. And this Thursday won't be any different. I will ask Stormy Patriot Joe if he can be here. Oh, here's the last thing. Hold on, let me get to 20. I forgot. 1, 2, 3, 4. Anybody on pill.net want to jump in? Anybody? All right. So the sponsor that we haven't quite 6. I'm counting and doing this stuff at the same time. I want to shout out David Becker. So I spoke to David for about an hour today. It was supposed to be about sponsorship and ended up being all about the movement and the things that we're seeing, Q drops, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to shout this guy out. We are in talks for him to be sponsoring the show, and whether he does or he doesn't, I'm going to support this dude. He's awesome. So let me see if I could pull up his website. I'm going to do that. Copy, link, send to my Telegram. That's not where I want to send it. Where's my saved messages at? Pre-show. Bear with me. Pre-show. There it is. All right. So this is David Becker's website. I am going to show this, like I said, even though it's a little premature as far as sponsorship's concerned. The dude's awesome. He's Badlands community. Dude goes to all the GARTs, which they're having, I think, in a week or so. And so I'm just going to promote him anyway. So Mid-Atlantic Business Alliance, from what I understand on our initial conversation, this is not a read, like I said, but he is a patriot through and through, a Q follower, and a huge member of this community. And what he does is he helps people that need insurance personally, right? So if you don't get insurance through your company or you work for yourself or whatever it might be, and he told me he has like an 80 to 90% rate of being able to get people a better plan for less money. And the dude's a patriot. So if you go over there, let him know I sent you. But just know that David wants to jump on board and support this show just like he's supporting over at Badlands. So I look forward to that relationship. And whether it goes that way or it doesn't, the dude's awesome. And I'll continue the friendship. So there's that. All right. So here we go. I'm going back to counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, I need a couple more. You guys didn't get there yet. Give me a couple more Kwasts in the chat. I don't want to just make a number up. I wrote it down. I got to be honest. You guys can write it more than once. Just saying. Mickey Johnson, you're almost there. I see your comment. I'm not doing it until you guys all write WTF. That's not Kwast. All right, come on. Give me I love Brenda. There it is. Fire in 8. Fire in 8, you are the winner for today's bottle of Rainfall from epicminerals.net. So Fire in 8, email me at ramboandfriends@proton.me. ramboandfriends@proton.me. Send me your name. Let me know it's you, and somewhere that I can send you the bottle. And right here after the show, I will send that out. So one more time, guys, as I bounce out of here, I will see you on Thursday with Absolute 1776. And there's always the chance that Stormy Patriot Joe joins that show. So we'll see. As he does have his new schedule, he told me he'll be more available and maybe he'll be coming on again. So until then, we will see you guys next time. And as soon as school starts, I promise you guys more regular shows. So as soon as all the kids go to school and Kim goes back to work, these daytimes will become mine more than they have been all summer. And we will get back into doing lots of these shows and having a whole bunch of guests that we've already had on, plus many, many more. Much love. I will see you guys on Thursday. Peace.